Entertain the people. We're recording.
We're
Hello, everyone.
welcome back, everybody.
There we go. little 4-month hiatus. It's now mid-August. We last talked April. Man, how many lives have we been through? 2 or 3?
April wasn't that long ago, was it? What was going on in April?
End of winter, beginning of spring, which doesn't matter in California. Um,
Yeah.
uh, I mean, same as ever, I guess. I mean, we can scroll back and it's like, oh, I was in love with someone. Oh, I was trying to make money off of art. Oh, I was desperate and on fire. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Which,
sounds about right.
yeah.
Eventually you become who you are. It's like, well, all right, I guess I'm who I am.
Well, what have the new challenges been? You've had some today, or have you not? Your challenge has been in just.
I mean, yeah. I mean, my challenges. I mean, I think I understand more clearly the not enough money boogeyman. Um, I think my challenge is I don't apply to things. Um, I have to do it my way, the slow way, the way that I'm going, and so there's no hope for me, and there's also a lot of hope for me. There, like, no one can make me do a thing. Like, I will do it my way, and it will take the time it takes, and it's going to piss everyone who loves me it's gonna piss them off because I'm unable to give advice because I won't take it because I can't take it. So yeah, I mean, my war is mostly with myself and what I can't and won't and don't do, and it will never be on someone else's timetable. I'm always going to be worrisome to anyone in my life. So I'm acclimating to truly being an art monster. I'm absolutely a monster, and I'm learning to live with that. And I have to make decisions about what other people can tolerate. Right? It's like it makes other people uncomfortable or unhappy, or and it's like, well, you can bear it. I decide you can bear it. Right? There's a growing pain, and I have a lot of tolerance for discomfort and uncertainty that most people don't. So, um, having to manage others' emotions and manage the damage that I do to family and friends who love me and want the best for me, but you get down to it, you I don't know.
Tolerance for uncertainty. That's something that I have a lot of too, but I think you have more than I do.
I mean, I have a
Being totally okay with not knowing what is going to happen. Like, or
but you look better than ever. So why would I ever worry about you? You got to look down. You're as good as you've ever been.
yeah, I'm not bad. I'm not bad. Well, the weird thing about my life recently is that I, uh, like, I feel like I spend half my life telling myself that I've got to do this in order to make this happen. I've got to do this. I've actually got to like put the work in. Like when you said earlier today that the the work doesn't equal the output or something like that. You said something like the the amount of
Oh, like the effort and
the
the outcome.
effort and outcome are not
Yeah.
equal at all. And like I tend to like live my life telling myself, I'm constantly making lists. I've got a whiteboard of things that I've got to do. And like that's really like never what ends up getting done.
No.
And sometimes I feel like like I was telling you about that the just those I recently, got recruited for a potential job, and like that's the kind of thing where like I literally did nothing. That's where that
Well,
I mean, I did a lot of things, but I didn't do anything to make that happen. You know, all I did was I was me, and I put myself on the internet, and then somebody reached out to me. And you know what? Like the way I met you is the same way. I didn't like
Right.
I didn't like put in a bunch of effort thinking this is going to make a bunch of connections, going to lead to a friendship and a podcast and like
No,
no. And
we're
like
only we're strategic in hindsight.
so it makes me sometimes want to just be you know what? I'm only going to put in effort in the moment when I feel like putting in effort, and the rest of it's just gonna come naturally. I would love to live that way. I don't know. It's a conflict. It's a balance.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm constantly trying to make things happen, but I know
Make
like
it happen. Let it
I,
happen.
I'm constantly trying to make things happen, knowing that that's not how things happen.
Right. Well, I mean, it's like plans are useless, but planning is essential. And it's like, even if you know you're not going to do the plan, you still need to plan because you owe it to some uh, some imagined stakeholder, right? You and I both have the voice of our fathers in our heads and the voice of our society and the voice of the 20th century. And
I'm married.
um sure. Why why did you say that right there?
Oh, because that's that. There is a stakeholder. There's another person who's holding a stake in my life. You know, that's like
Holding a stake. Yeah.
that's like really like I have to make plans with another person. Like when you're married with somebody, when you're married to somebody, you actually have to kind of treat them like they're a business partner in a way. You can't just like
Sure. Oh, totally.
you have to make plans with them, even if you both know that the plans are not really the way things are going to work out. It doesn't
You
matter.
have to at least be prepared to fake that you're trying to make a thing happen.
Maybe it's more like we have to maybe it's all practice being on the same page. Maybe that's all it is.
Correct. Yeah.
Because when the shit goes down, you need to be locked in sync and know how
Yeah.
how the other person is going to react and how you can help that person. I don't know. I think I've told you, but one of the big reasons I got married, and I didn't even realize this until years after I got married, was so that somebody knew where I was all the time. Like that was like one of the reasons. That was like
You need someone to keep track of you.
someone like is now keeping track of me. And that really rubbed me wrong at first because the first couple of years I was
Yeah.
married, I was like, shit, man, I've got always got to check in with this person and like, you know,
Ask permission to use the bathroom.
well, I can't even like I got to ask permission to pretty much do everything and like but well, that's not true. I don't have to ask permission to do everything, but I have to respect that that person loves me and cares about me and wants to know where I am. And that led me to realize that that's the whole reason that I got married in the first place, you know?
It's funny. For a few years, I've been saying that I think social media and smartphones threatens the institution of marriage because everything. I'd be curious to go down a list and say everything a marriage does, a an online community can do better. And actually, the it's
Hmm.
interesting to think about the costs and benefits of what you're free from. And it's like, well, what sort of support do you need? Um, Sexual desire ends up fucking up every model that there is.
Yeah, that doesn't make it.
Desire turns everything on its head and rips out the soul of it, which is wonderful. It's a
Well,
great
I mean, like
why sex is good.
like ironically or unironically, in the past for thousands of years, marriage hasn't really been about sexual desire. It's been about
Sure,
protecting
political and economic and
political, economic, or just
teaming up.
about yeah, about raising a family, like and however you're gonna make that happen. But I
Yeah,
mean, it is a little bit. In a way, it's kind of weird that we have accepted marriage in our culture as something that you do out of love, when actually that's very impractical. It's very impractical to marry out of love, actually.
yeah. No, that's a new thing, and you do that if you can afford it. I think I've heard it said it's like the first marriage is for kids and the second one is for love. I'm sort of glad I sort of like dodged the bullet of the first marriage.
Wait, explain what that means. Explain to our listeners what that means.
Well, I'll be 36 in a couple months here, and I've lived vicariously through several friends' marriages and reading the internet and uh, having relationships here and there and reflecting on relationships and kind of biding my time and kind of working hard to understand myself and understand what it is to be a lover. And I've done a lot of study and some practice. And yeah, I mean, I've sort of committed to the bit of, life begins at 40. Everything before that is just research.
I think it's at 50.
Yeah, well, it's funny, but the guy, I have had a mentor in my life, and he told me when I was 25 that you don't know who you are till you're 35. And it's funny, he just texted me like minutes before stepping on stage here tonight, and he said that at 35 you know yourself, but at 55 you understand yourself.
Yeah, there's this.
So it's sort of
It reminds me of a saying in Alcoholics Anonymous. I think I may have said it before on this show, but that is like I think it's similar. The number of years is can be different, but it's like at five, you've lost your marbles, right? You've totally gone crazy. You've lost your marbles when you get sober. The day that you get sober, you're new. And at 5 years,
mm,
you get your marbles back. But at 10 years, you figure out what you're supposed to be doing with them. Cute little
wow,
cute little game. But I think
yeah.
that, like there are steps to figuring out who you are, and I think there's some people who would probably argue that you never really figure it out. Um, I do think
Yeah.
that getting married is one of the things that I mean, as somebody who never thought I would get married and never wanted to, and like it never appealed to me. I never fantasized about that. I never even saw it in the future and saw myself married. I never did. My parents, were. I come from a kind of broken home, so it's like it's not something. But one of the things that it does is that it makes you realize. Well, it makes you no longer have to worry about certain things. For instance, sexual desire.
Yes.
Like that's done. Now you can get on with your real life. It's like in a way it's like it's kind of nice to have that figured out. Now I don't have to worry like
Yeah, hmm. Yeah, I mean, a lot. Go on.
I mean the sexual desire's there, but it's not something that stresses me out. It's like it allows me to focus on what I actually wanted to do when in the past other people were something that distracted me constantly. Other people that I was attracted to or that I was
Hmm.
interested in or that I was dating or that I was trying to figure out how to have a relationship with. That is no longer something I worry about at all, which frees me up to do what I actually love. And it makes
To
me
worry about other things.
well, yeah. Well, I kind of wish that I could. I mean, like it's one of those things where if I could go back in time and tell myself anything, it would be like just like forget all of that, focus on what you really love to do. If that's
Yeah,
art, then focus on art, and then everything will come through that.
yeah,
But you tell that to a 25-year-old, and they're like, "No, I want to hook up with girls or whatever." It's like, whatever.
yeah.
Like it's it's something that is it doesn't really make sense. I'm sure somebody who is 55 years old would tell me like, you should just focus on enjoying your life, and that's all that really matters. It doesn't matter how much money you make or whatever.
Yeah, but we won't. We won't enjoy our life. We're going to take things too personally, and we're going to work around the clock, and we're going to keep looking at our screen to make the number go up because it's never high enough.
Do you think it's
And then
possible to enjoy your
and then
life?
if and then at 55, we'll tell people who are 35 enjoy your life, knowing full well that they're going to be workaholics and anxious and suicidal and furious and depressed and lonely, because that's the only way that things seem to be able to go. You can't deprogram yourself from that. I don't know if it's human nature meeting our historical moment or what,
So
but
can you enjoy your life, and then what does it look like when you enjoy your life?
yeah,
Is enjoying your life something that you realize only on the day that you die that you're like, oh wow, I enjoyed
no,
my life?
no, you can enjoy, but you have to be an outlaw, and everyone in your life's going to hate you. but you can enjoy it. Yeah, you go
But if
for a
you're not
walk.
an outlaw and everyone in life loves you, then you're not going to enjoy life.
No, because then you're not doing anything important. Like then you're not changing the game. Then you're probably just paying your credit card bills and going to bed on time, and you're just another sea urchin in in the ocean, like, which is fine. And it's like, the world needs B and C players.
I
The
wonder.
world
I think
is
that a lot of
needs a
people,
lot of support staff. So you just have to be what you are
well,
and
for
not be afraid
yeah,
to be what you are. And
for support staff though, what does it look like to enjoy your life as life support staff? Like that
yeah,
it
well,
must mean it
you get to
must
have hobbies, right? So
it must
so
be looking at
I'm
your children and going, "Oh, my children are I'm proud of them
yeah,
and that makes me happy." I see. Yeah.
yeah, or like, yeah, my mom told me something about my grandfather who was in medicine. She said that there's a job and there's a calling. She always said medicine was a calling. A job will give you the security to pay bills, have a life, not worry about running out of money.
Never had one of those.
The job won't satisfy you per se. Now you actually have three jobs right now, so you get to decide later. This is We're going to put an asterisk if you have three jobs or if you have zero jobs. You haven't decided yet. But back to my grandfather and the call and the job and the calling. The job is something that allows you to have security, and then you get to pursue a meaningful life outside of it. The job itself will never satisfy you fully. So you sort of working for the weekend. A calling is something that is so compelling that it organizes every single bit of your being, and it is the thing by which all other things are categorized and connect into your actual life, much to the detriment of those things that aren't your calling: your health, your finances, your relationships, your sanity.
Hmm.
And those are that ends up being your operating model for how you spend time, what your thoughts are, what you do next, what you're allowed to do. Am I allowed to say yes to this thing? Can I have ice cream? Well, no. Oh, I need to go to bed at 10:20 because I need to wake up at 6:20. It's like, Jesus, like, you look at the daily schedules of some of my peers, it starts at 5, you get up, and yeah, it's all about the kids, and then you get to work and you do the work and come home. And if you're lucky to get a workout in and eat some vegetables and some protein, and uh yeah, it's just nuts.
Hmm. There've only been a couple of times where I've had a life's job like that. Like one that was like security in exchange for all of my time.
Well, so I think the work of the artist is that, and it's the security you get is not clear yet. It's talent, right? Talent's actually very hard to quantify. It's sort of a feeling, it's sort of an instinct. Because I think I get a lot of security by what I do. I think I've got my game made.
It's a different type of security than what you were just talking about.
Yeah. And I think
I
the
think
one I was
I
just
have like
talking about is false. I really think talent is the only tangible safety net there is. And it's the fact that that who you are and what you do is in demand. And it's not just because they'll pay for your labor to get an outcome to make profit. No, it's because you're truly essential and truly necessary, truly vital, life-giving.
I think a lot of people are looking for that probably that place where they are vital.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's like for me personally, I've woven an interesting web of being able to make art for a living. And even when I'm teaching, I feel like teaching is a calling of mine. But teaching for a university is not a calling.
Yeah.
Teaching is a calling. Teaching for a university is something that I kind of wish I didn't have to do. But
Yeah.
the,
You don't have to do.
the university gives me it gives me there's some trade-offs, and part of that is security.
Sure.
I know that they're going to pay me and they're going to give me a certain number of students every semester or whatever. But
Yeah, that's where things break down when you aren't building your community yourself.
well, I still get to build a community. In fact, I get I just have an easier funnel, really. I mean, I get somebody else is doing the funneling for me.
Right, right.
And I
And
still meet
it's,
lots of great people.
yeah,
And it's nice because I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't have to. Something we talk about a lot on this show is how to market and how to get people to know that you are alive and that you make art, right? And for me, I don't have to work very hard at that because every single 6 months, every 6 months, there's another 50 students who I get to show what I'm doing, and then they get to decide with it.
well, you're a teacher for the same reason some people have kids, a guaranteed audience.
Partly. I mean, yes, but I mean, I mean, I would love a guaranteed audience. Yeah, I would love who doesn't want a guaranteed audience? Like that would be great. It's I am
Mm.
I love making art. I don't like gathering an audience. That's no fun for me. That's not I don't feel creative doing that. And then there's tons of creative ways to do it, but and I've done
You
many.
don't think it's creative thinking about who should come hear the thing you're about to do?
Yes, it's creative, and I've spent a lot of time and energy throughout my life
Failing at it?
no succeeding at it. I mean, well, succeeding and failing. But it's not it's it's a different type of satisfaction. I mean, yeah. No, I mean, I wish that like that. The only reason I ever did that and took any pleasure in it in the first place was because it was a means to an end. The only reason I ever
And
did
the end being what?
well, for instance, publicity stunts. When I played in the Meishi, we would do all kinds of things to get attention for what we were doing, and and the reason that we did that is because we wanted people to hear our music. So we'd go and play 18 shows in 2 days at South by Southwest or something, or
Hmm.
we would do something equally as creative as our music, but on the exposure aspect of it. I don't really want to do that anymore. It's not something that I have a calling to do. In fact, I don't even really. All I really want to do is make weird noises and maybe some videos from time to time. That's all I really want to do. And like getting people's reactions from them reaction to them is nice and fun, and I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't I don't yearn for the same like uh I don't know. I don't need a lot of people to love what I'm doing, I don't think. I don't know if I'd even like that as much anymore.
Hmm.
I
Well,
don't know. No.
well,
But
I mean,
I mean, the reason that I teach, the reason that I continue to teach is because I like I like meeting new people, and I can't I like meeting new people who share the same interests as me, and I feel like I'm better off trusting somebody else to do that than me. Like if it were up to me, I would have to put in a lot of time and effort to build that community myself, and that's hard to do right now because I also have another job.
I think it's,
Yeah.
hmm.
And maybe in a year or two, maybe in a month, maybe whatever, maybe I'll decide that I do want to do it on my own again. But
A lot of distinctions there that I noticed. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer of like you have to take responsibility for what your art is and who you think cares and showing it to people one at a time. And really all professional suffering stems from shirking the responsibility to do that. Because as soon as you start going to someone else to gather your audience for you, you're lying to yourself.
well,
And then
I am not. I'm not having somebody else gather my audience so that I can have them experience my art. They're gathering my. I'm having somebody gather my audience so that I can so that I can teach, which I guess could be considered an art.
I mean, I think it is. I mean, teaching is very important to me too. I mean, I think I'm a passionate teacher as well. If you look at how I spend my time, a lot of it is, anything I tweet, it's certainly not for my glory. You know, I think my taste is interesting and really good, but I don't need to prove that to myself or anyone else anymore. So now it's like, well, who needs to hear this, right? I got reached out to from someone who's been reading my tweets, and we started DMing, and he wanted to talk on the phone. And so it's always fun to kind of have a phone call with someone who's been reading what I write, because it turns out that they actually know me better, or I feel more understood and heard by them than pretty much anyone else in my life. It's quite a mystical thrill, and it's very it's like a dream-like place to play, because it's like you're on the phone, and it's like you're both God.
But you didn't know anything about him, and he started reading.
A little bit, and
You heard the term parasocial?
I have.
Parasocial relationship? It's one of the most fascinating
I've heard it said about podcasts, where you have this intimacy that you sense with this person because you hear them in your ears so much, right? I mean, I think listening to podcasts, reading written words, you sort of start to sculpt this version of this person. And it's always funny. It's like whenever, and like same with like singing on Smule, for example, as well, is like you get to know someone's performance self, and then you like see behind the curtain or like off stage, and it's like, oh my God, like it's like very jarring,
Yeah.
especially if you like, idolize this person or you have a crush on this person, and then it's like you see them in like a relaxed state. It's like, oh my gosh, like it's really you, and they see you too, and they're having the same experience. And especially with like singers, like you sort of go like, all right, like now we're off this social thing, and we're back to music, we're gonna like choose a song, and then you get right back into the performance that like they're familiar with, and then after you're done, it's like, that was awesome, thank you. Yeah, it's kind of jarring.
I know that you're really into Smule and you talk a lot about Smule and your experiences, but one of the things that I think is interesting is that Smule is probably one of the few experiences where two people are simultaneously having different parasocial relationships at the same
Sure.
time,
Oh, definitely.
which probably doesn't happen. I mean, maybe it happens on Twitter or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
like, um,
Well, I mean, I would say any relationship is that as well, right? You don't know your wife doesn't know you, much though that might not sit well,
yeah.
because you're different every day, and so is she, and we develop scripts to get through the day and meet our needs.
Well, the real concept of a parasocial relationship has been around for a really long time. As long as there have been people who are, you know, well-known personalities or whatever. But in the days of social media, when you can have an audience of millions, it really is kind of a weird thing that probably happens to most people in one way or another. They either are the subject or they are the object of that relationship. And some people probably want that. They probably want people to think that they know them. Like that's a weird kind of desire.
Well, I think there's a triangulation that happens, right? And I mean, I've I have a lot of special one-to-one relationships with people who I know follow my performance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
I mean,
they're,
yeah.
I mean, it's both the art, like going to the public thing where I do the thing for many, and then I jump back and I kind of look through the individual relationships and play in those one-on-one. And I'm always like going back and forth. I mean, it's both the art, and it's like, I don't know. I'm I think I'm good at switching channels, and it does, and I'm used to doing all these little things in different voices all the time, so
Are
it's
you
easy for me.
But you're aware when you're speaking, when you're in a one-on-one conversation with somebody, you're obviously aware of that. But when you're writing your blog, what you just said when you're doing your thing for many, do you actually imagine you're doing something for many?
I do, but I also I'm gonna dare to do it for myself in public.
Uh-huh.
That's what it is. And I think that the public is practice for the personal, and I think it's vice versa as well.
Hmm.
Um, because I need to be listening to something. Yeah, I mean, and I remember noticing a while ago that like who I follow and who follows me is like very different. Like I unfollowed like all my friends like years ago. I sort of made the choice or followed the call to be an art monster and to sort of step many layers up above my real life station. And it's like I'm putting myself on like the greats diet and I'm gonna land there. And I don't know why or how I did that, but I guess I didn't feel at home in wherever I was, and I wanted more. Um, but
Yeah, we talk about this sort of live performance thing a lot, I feel like. I'm still not even sure if it's like what role does it play to an artist? You know, the old issue of like, is something art if no one ever experiences it other than you? When you are writing, you are doing it for you, but knowing that you have an audience.
mm-hmm. I mean, it's a
And
divination, like, I mean, sometimes I snap into this mode of like, you kind of get that, like, you get slightly possessed and you get enthusiastic, which means like filled with God. So all of a sudden it's like, the, the poet, the mystic, the shaman, the musician, it's like, 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 all right, like I'm getting a transmission now. I've just like hit the frequency and now I'm doing this thing that is coming through me and it's not me and it's for you, it's for
hmm,
everyone. um and of course you let people change the channel because I'm just another soul for sale who's trying to make up his make believe and turn it into product, and trying to get saved, and you won't get saved, and that's the story. Ta-da! Jazz hands.
yeah, I feel like I get hit with that inspiration a lot. In fact, this entire week I've been making a lot of music, but I don't really know what it's for, and I don't really know who it's for, if it's for anyone other than me. And sometimes I wonder if like the the I've always felt that learning to play musical instruments for me was like my retirement plan, Like that's I don't need a 401k. I just need a piano and a guitar and that's it.
Sure. Yeah.
Like in a way everything that I'm doing, everything that I learn how to do that I just am fine. You could lock me into a room with a musical instrument and I'd be fine for hours, days.
Yeah.
And like that's all I really need. And of course I'm making art, but like we live in a world that requires that I go outside of that comfort zone of whatever that is. Making music by myself for myself, that's a comfort zone, right? And sometimes I
Mm,
wonder like why do I really need to do that? To make money?
y- yeah, and it's like, I mean, I think a true artist is the revolution, right? It's like it's actually your body and your psyche is actually the battleground where the world changes, right? You can just not go. You can just dare to do what you know you need to do and want to do and do it. And life will get hard and the world will seem to collapse in around you. But that's what a world changing looks like. You
Hmm.
know what I've tuned out of, why I've unfollowed my friends? Because they go do the job and make money and grind and then complain about it. And it's like I've been reading. I was reading that in 2013. I
Hmm.
read that already. Archive, unsubscribe.
So now, do you have a new group of friends who doesn't do that, who don't do that? Why
The
do that?
dead. Yeah, the dead don't do that, which is why I like spending time with them. Um,
Yeah, do I?
no, yeah. I mean, I've my reading life has changed a lot. I was on the phone with a friend who's a painter who's in his 50s, who's like a mentor, and he he made one comment today. Is like he said like I bet you read a lot of crap, and I said no, I really don't.
Why would he say that?
Well, because at least in the beginning of my writing life,
Hmm.
you have to take in a lot of information, right? And it's not like I don't read read a ton. Like it's not like I'm not saying, okay, 10,000 brain cycles, my 12 hours of activity, like every note's got to get right, right? Like you deal with, music and like little bits, little bars, every little thing's got to be right. I mean, I try to string my reading day together so that every little thing makes sense and order.
Yeah, I
Um,
listen to a lot of crap for sure. Mm.
yeah, I mean, other people might call it crap. Yeah, and it's like I don't know. This is where the whole social experiment breaks down when we all spend so much time on computers because we actually don't have the capacity, the language capacity to even talk about what we read, and we don't even know what to do with what we've read. Yeah, like everyone's on their own like adventure on their computer screen, and we do not know how to talk about our adventure with someone else who's also on their own adventure.
Yeah, I haven't been too adventurous on computers lately. I haven't felt very expressive on social media.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I
I
sometimes really don't even know what the hell I'm doing there. Like I post a picture of my dog because it's something that pleases me and I want it to please somebody else and that's it.
mhm.
But and that occasionally I'll make something that I think is maybe will make somebody else happy, whether it's a photo or a piece of music or something. But I feel like it's a little bit phony. Like sometimes I feel like if I'm posting music to Instagram these days, I don't really know who's listening and I don't like it's one of those things where I didn't make it for anyone else. So, yeah. I've also been in a weird place because for the last month I've been very hard at work on stuff that I get paid to do, which I'm super grateful and I'm actually really proud of what I've done. But it's a different kind of artist than one that is, entirely on my own trying to make it work
Well,
and
I mean,
living in the discomfort.
well, the discomfort is always there because not getting paid is certainly a real thing, and there are consequences of that. Um, but I mean, I think business is art for sure. I mean, but it's all about how you feel, right? I mean, I, I, I repeated something yesterday about, or that you told me. It's like I wake up for me. I go to work for me. I show up for me,
Turn the
and
crank.
then and everything else stems from that. Um,
Yes, I still
I'm
have to do that. Yes.
I'm incapable of doing what I don't want to do, and I think I just need to accept that about myself. And if I do that, then I can really unlock my my power and potential, rather than fighting against it, rather than trying to be my father or try to be a good little boy, or no, I have to sigh and pause and turn on the sales machine. No, that makes me violently lash out, which I've made room in my art practice for violently lashing out. Violent lash outs are welcome in anything that I do. Um, yeah, I mean, I use social media as therapy as well. I mean, like the stuff I tweet is like I'm helping me see it. I mean, it's like me taking notes in public. It's me turning over rocks for myself to show myself things.
Yeah.
and I let anyone else see what I'm showing myself. That's, I think, the show that I do is, yeah,
Do you
ravaging
have a
and
quota?
foraging. Hmm?
Do you have a quota these days? Any kind of quota?
Feel alive, and that
How many
that
times a day do you have to feel alive?
all.
That's not
Like
a
the whole
quota, though.
time.
That's not a quota.
It's
That's
holistic.
that's just
I
a
know,
feeling.
and here's where I love going head to head with this question, because when I focus on resonance, my quantity and quality will beat 10 times out of 10 anyone with a quota. Because that a quote to even start with that premise is to be limited by the fear of not hitting it. So you play like frantic, small, 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 small,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you'll get worn down after 3, 4, or 5 hours. Whereas I'll go for 10, 11, and I'll take like an hour and a half off, and I'll go do like one and two more after that. So
So
I can work
yeah.
longer and better than the quota heads, right? And they live they're living in the 20th century. They're living in 1953 when my parents were born.
You have some kind of artificial limitations, though, right? I mean, the fact that
Death,
you say
fear.
you can take a break for two
I mean,
hours
like,
a day is kind of artificial, right?
well, again, like, I to talk about quota, we would really need to get a team of doctors here, and I would need a physicist here as well, because how I am framing this confrontation and inquisition about quota is it's about like blood sugar levels. It's about um I absolutely have my like constructed perfections that I hit. And again, I'm boring listeners now if I'm going to prattle on about my daily rituals, because you know them, right? But you asked for it. So you asked to be bored.
I did.
You asked to be
I
bored
don't
by
think
asking me about a quota. You say, okay, here's a high def picture of my factory work day. Like, should I walk you through the whole thing? Stretch, brush teeth, morning pages 1, morning pages 2, morning pages 3, get into messages, get into Twitter, start flowing, free form, like Google Docs. I've got 12-piece
Well,
project
let me be
ongoing with
more
an
specific.
artist in New York. I've
You're not trying to
hmm?
hit a certain number of posts on social media per day or anything like that.
No, I do
The
the next thing
quota,
that feels urgent. I want to sing every 3 nights. I feel compelled to do Substack and Patreon, right?
it sounds like you have quotas, but you don't like the word quota. What you have is structure that you've given yourself. I think a lot of
yeah.
artists will give themselves quotas. Say, for instance, say a 365 challenge. They're going to do one thing every single
Well,
day.
yeah, there's a big
And
corner of Twitter where like in their bio, like in their name, like it would be like Jeffrey Lewis, 2/100, recordings, yoga classes, whatever. It's like they put themselves on a quantity. So like that's a quota,
yeah, that is. That's
sure.
what I'm kind of asking about.
Yeah, usually it's number of hours that I am fully engaged.
Because
And again,
I've been thinking about that because like I've set myself a little goal of trying to release 4 pieces of music, publish them by the end of September. And I was wondering if I need more discipline in that as far as what I'm trying to complete, and if I should try to complete a certain number of pieces by a certain time. And then I started to think of, well, does that motivation even really help me? Like for instance, there was one time where I tried to go a year writing a piece of music every single day for an entire year. I made it about 4 months actually.
it's
Before
solid.
before I was kind of like, why am I even doing this? All right, I think I caved in once and said I'm going to spend 2 days doing this, and then from there on it just kind of fell apart. And and then I've done it for like months where I'll write a piece of music every single day for 30 or 60 days. And I don't really know if it's I don't know if it's healthy. Like I don't know if
Mhm.
that's like the motivate like it doesn't make me love what I'm doing more. It makes me able to do it faster. It makes me able to find shortcuts faster. You know?
Hmm.
Like I've heard people say that photographers that try to post a picture every day. They try to publish a photo every single day. They'll like 20% of them are them sitting in bed at 11:30 going, "Oh shit, I forgot to post a photo today. Let me go find something real fast." And like maybe that's a certain type of motivation, but for me that's not the reason that I would do it in the first place. It kind of drives me to these to these limits. It drives me to kind of a desperation, which is not where I intended to go with it. And I wonder if how that shows up in your life. I mean, you have all this discipline with the way that your day goes. Do you feel like you're cutting corners at a certain point? You're trying to make things happen and it's taking you out of your art?
No, no. I mean, because everything adds to it, and I mean, I trust the energy, right? And like when I say that, it's like I have no expectations about the things that I do, right? This hour that we're spending here doing this, um, what I get out of it is the energy that's created by having done it. So it's actually not about the content at all. It's not about the metrics at all. It's not about who sees the content at all. It's the possibility of what could happen after it. That that possibility becomes energy. So it's all about like the next thing that I go do. I kind of like bounce off of this or like use this as like a block and I like push my weight off of it. Um, so yeah, nothing is wasted, especially when it's generous. So it then becomes about intentions and the story you tell yourself about what you're trying to get and your own calculus.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, what are we trying to get?
well,
Sometimes
it's
I
all the
really
things that aren't here and now. When really this is the lucky thing is the here and now, but it's not enough because you want it to look like what awards. You want it to look
you
like more money coming in.
do you
It's
want
like if
that?
you, I mean, like if you want more emails, you can get them. You want more emails from like mediocre people who might pay you money? Here's an inbox of 50 of those. Have fun. Have fun. Enjoy it. I hope you like it. You asked for this for Christmas. I hope you actually want to play with it.
Well, do you want to be appreciated by a lot of people?
Um, I think I am. Um, I don't think I need to want it.
That's good. It's
I
a
think
healthy way
it
to think
it
about it.
it happens. So I have everything but money, and it's amazing. It's amazing. Like I didn't know the world. Like I didn't know the art life could be this good. I
That's
don't need to go fly to Chicago or fly to LA or fly to New York and put on a suit and go on a stage and do this. Like, I don't need to do any. Like I don't need to do any of that. I don't need to do any of that. I can dress comfortably. I can drink water. I can feel alive. I can fall in love. I can,
you just gotta be broke.
yeah, which just means find a way to spend as little as you can because, yeah,
That's a pretty good way to be, even if you had money. I mean,
yeah,
what would you spend money on if you had money?
yeah.
You'd go to Chicago and you'd go to New York and you'd go
No,
to LA.
I wouldn't. I mean, and it's like I've been poor for a long time, and again, it might not sound like it, right? Like this is why I don't talk to people that much about my life, or at least like directly. I sort of do it obliquely through my art to people who will never really know me that well because I'm probably going to enter a phase. It's probably starting for me now, probably will last about 10, 20 years where people won't like me because of how free and fearless I am. And I'm ready to accept that, but it's lonely.
You're entering that phase right now.
I think so. And I thought about it today. It's like it'll be tough to make it to 55. And here's why. Because my peers are going to be so insufferable starting now from about 35 to 55.
Hmm.
Judgmental, comparative, counting other people's money, snide remarks. It's going to be an intolerable emotional environment, very hostile to the model of life that I live by. Um, so yeah, I don't know how long I'm going to make it, and this is beyond financial, right? And of course, the financial and the emotional are tied up because of what money represents, right? It's all a very deep psychic shadow battle against the fear of not having the approval or blessing of some authority, whether it's a boss or a wife or a president or a Excel spreadsheet or a landlord or what. It's like find your boss, right? Like we started with like find your beach. Now it's find your boss. It's like you need to like find this like grinding stone because I don't know, like man is like too big and too small. You need to find some, I don't know, there's like this like deep memory of either prison or being chained to a rock, something. Like you need a ruler, right? Having a king to rule over you, right? Freedom is hard. And you need someone to pray to, right? It's why people elect Trump. It's they shirk the responsibility of becoming their own ruler. When really the truth is, and the poets know this, Walt Whitman said this, no God is more of an authority. No authority is higher than yourself. But if that's true, it's also true of everybody else.
Hmm.
And it makes it hard to live because you don't know what to believe or who to believe. And so what makes right? Does might make right? Does owning a house make right? Does having a senior director position make right? Does being married make right? All those things can be taken from you.
There's different types of communities, you know.
Say more.
Well, I mean, there's communities that would appreciate you and what you do, and I don't think you have to be surrounded by insufferable people. I think that like part of the problem with the world today is that there's a lot of people have expectations for the way it should be because it's been that way their entire life or whatever, but we're kind of coming to realize that a lot of that is really fucked up. And I think that I mean I'm sure you've thought about this, but it's possible that part of your job is to make the change for not just yourself but for the
Yeah.
entire world. I mean, that's like
Yeah.
I mean, like there really are places physically in the world and mentally in the world and psychologically in the world that you can inhabit where you won't where you are doing the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I mean I think the challenge every day is to do the right thing, right? I mean, I have no doubts about what I'm doing,
And it might
which
require
is what makes it
responsibility.
hard.
It might not be it doesn't necessarily need to be, you know, suits and cars and bosses and stuff like that.
Not sure.
But in a community there's always responsibility.
Totally. Oh yeah. I'm
And
I'm
I
not
think
I'm not shirking responsibility. I mean, I think teaching is a calling also.
well, one of the reasons that people have jobs that they hate to do is because they've taken on a responsibility, right? That's why we have people who collect our garbage or whatever. Like it's something that needs to be happening. The community needs to make it happen, and some people are volunteering to do it. Some people in our world in America, a lot of people do things because they don't have any choice. They
Eh,
no, a lot of people do not have a choice. We
I'll let you say it and I'll
I mean,
groan.
the two
And
of us have white skin and can sit here and say that everybody has a choice, but you know that like many
I
people
don't
don't.
I don't know that. I think it takes, you can find the choice. There's always more if you pause for 3 seconds and think about it differently and open your eyes again.
No, not everyone can pause for 3 seconds.
I know you believe that.
I mean, a lot of people can't, and not because they can't fit, like physiologically do it, they can, but they can't because they've never had the opportunity to do it and they've never thought that they could do it.
There, that does there. So that's not about can't.
Well, sure. I mean, there's a shit ton of things that we can do, but we're not going to because they don't enter our brains because we were never ever taught them. And that's why.
Oh, you have to be your own teacher. You're right. You're a better parent to you than your parents were. That's true of both of us.
Mhm. But I
So
like
don't wait for someone else to teach you. Don't wait for someone else to come free you.
my point was about community and how like the I think the reasons that a lot of people take on work that makes them hate their lives is because they've been brainwashed into thinking that's the only way that they can have community.
Yeah, community with coworkers you don't like to come home to a family you neglect because you're too tired and then you're an alcoholic.
I mean, if you want to live
Sounds
on a
well,
cul-de-sac where somebody collects your garbage, then you basically have to live in that world with other people around you. You can't I can't just play drums at 1 a.m. in the morning because I'm
right,
part of a community. Well, I
right.
technically can, but most people can't. Um, and like that's responsibility. And I think it's easy for us to like look at most people and say that they've given up their lives, they've kind of sold themselves or whatever. Um,
Everyone sells themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, selling is fine. It's actually great, and people want to contribute. People want to be helpful. Success doesn't matter because then you're just like, oh shit, well, now what do I do? I have this ability, and you got to go. If it's resources, you got to go give it away. If it's talent, you got to go put it to use. And then you're always anxious about not doing it well enough. So the only thing you win, right? I mean, it's like a pie eating contest where the prize is more pie.
hey, I've got a question. I want to change the subject real quick.
Sure.
Do you ever feel like you're writing for people in the future? I
All the
mean,
time.
like, I
100%.
mean,
Million
so
percent.
do you ever? But I mean, does it cross your mind like? And
Daily.
I don't mean just like tomorrow in the future. I mean like 100 years.
50 years, 100
Yeah.
years, 500 years.
So
Yeah.
in that case, are you a historian? Are you an
Yeah.
emotional historian?
Absolutely.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I sometimes I sometimes think about like this is a way to reframe what art is, but I think that you could make an argument that art is really just is being a culture historian is just kind of basically we define the culture for sure, but we also tell people of the future what the culture was like.
Sure. Yeah.
It's the reason that we can read Emily Dickinson poems and get blown away. Um,
Yeah. Because she's still here. I mean, she's me. It's like I am that. Like I could, because like when you read the words and you understand what a person's life is, then it's like she woke up in her room. Is like shit. I'm living her
yeah,
life.
totally.
So
And
this is the original virtual reality is his imagination and empathy. And all the VR headset can do is give you more words and images where we already have access to too many words and images. And the technology is always to like quiet yourself, that quiet the mind. Meditation is that technology.
yeah, yeah, I want the Emily Dickinson VR. I want the Sappho VR.
It's a hard. I mean, it's not an easier life at
No,
all.
I never said that. Yeah.
I mean, do you want to go wear a toga and take your lyre and you got to go out there and make an audience out of people who don't expect to be one.
Well, no, I think that what's cool about that and what most people don't realize is so amazing about poetry is that like you're reading what humans have written in the past and like I mean, who could be more prescient than fucking well, Sappho of
Yeah.
like who could write words that were more relevant to things going on today in people's
Yeah.
super personal lives, you know, like just like
Right.
um and I think that if more people understood that, then I think more people would understand us
Yeah.
as human beings. You know, it's
Yeah.
like
Timelessness is important to understand.
yeah, it's something that I think that it maybe it's the reason that literature is one of the things that we study in high school or whatever because it's designed to do that. It's a link to link humans to humans
Yeah.
in the past.
And it makes you present. I mean, I think literature is the study of human situations, and you have to know how to make sense of your experience. And yeah, the human nature doesn't change, and who we are today is actually not much different than it was 2000 years ago.
Yeah, and I think that writers today would do well to think about that. I think one of the issues that I have with computers and social media and all this stuff is there are so many people that are they're creating and they're writing for people now, for right now. Like that something that's going to be seen in the next day or it's going to be gone forever, you
Well, I
know?
think it's both, and it's not or. It's both, and it all depends on who looks, right? I'm yeah. I mean,
Well, I feel like it's well, you know, when you scroll TikTok or whatever, it's I don't feel like people are really I don't think they're well, they're definitely recording culture, so that's what they're doing.
for sure.
And but sometimes I feel like that's not they're not it's I don't know. So I guess I would think that it's not the people don't spend time to actually try to connect with others through time. It's more like a it's more of a I human beings are primitive in our minds and we're going to do whatever the primitive mind like we're going to be searching out the dopamine in whatever. That's kind of like
Until you hit enlightenment and you
until you hit enlightenment
realize that
or maybe people who are maybe that's what intelligence is the ability to see beyond your dopamine receptors. Um you know,
yeah, I mean, it's not. I mean, it's go back to the Iroquois, for example. They were keenly aware of being in touch with the person 7 generations from now. You're standing on the river, and it's like, well, in my present in my body right now, I am in perfect resonance also with someone who will be here in my body 7 generations from now. So what I'm about to do is it's almost like 7 generations from now and 7 minutes from now is the same thing.
hmm.
It just more amplified. It's that times 1,000. So every little tiny change matters a whole lot because over time, compound interest of anything you say, right? It's terrifying to think about our impact, right? We think climate change is bad now. Think about cultural ecology of what's happening because of some internet users' behaviors polluting the water. We have no sense about how it's like cigarettes or how it's like pollution. We have no sense at all. It'll only be in time if it turns out that this is like a genocide or worse.
Well, let's stay optimistic, I guess. I
Well,
try. I'm always trying to give the benefit of the doubt to humanity, even though it seems to be seems to be screwing up my trust in it every day. There is a big part of me that just wants to say fuck it.
I live with someone right now who's in his 70s and he's constantly commentating pessimistically, and it's exhausting and it's stupid and it does nothing. And so if you want to be negative, you have a really great 35 years ahead of being uh of complaining.
Well, I feel like yeah, I mean, yeah, I know a lot of people who are negative about the world and technology and stuff like that. And I feel like I've done everything I could to be positive about it. I've gone through a phase where I was very negative about everything. The saying fuck it is not it sounds very negative, but in fact it's quite neutral because it's literally saying I'm just not even going to have opinions about this anymore. And just I I mean, it's hard. It's hard to trust other human beings because I don't know why. Because I think I'm not a human being. No, I am. But for some reason, I look at other human beings, the average human being, the mean person, the
Yeah, I know what you mean. That was good.
like, like, and I think like, what the hell is wrong with this person? And like, that's what the future is gonna look like for me. And I think, well, I maybe I just have to go completely changed my frame of life and my frame of mind and everything.
I mean, I think that's inputs and outputs, right? I mean, you can reprogram yourself through what you read, through what information you take in. And then, yeah, I mean, to create it is to also purge space in you, right? I mean, a lot of the writing I do, again, it's less about what I actually end up putting here, and it's a lot more about what it clears out from me at this distance, right? It's also the fun thing about like dance, like ballet. There's actually a lot to do with the hands, and it's like you think about, wow, like to imagine the heart from the heart all the way throughout all these blood vessels out here. It's like imagine all that energy that goes out, and it's like you can purge stuff from you to kind of clean your heart up, clean this out, so it can hear, so it can sense, so you can see color. Right? People forget about the body. The reason why the thinker sculpture by Rodin is so powerful is because he's thinking, but he's doing it with all his muscles. Everything is there. Everything is in order. His toes, his knees, his thighs, his butt, like his like claw here. It's like everything is to sort of, it's a whole holistic thing. And
I don't think I've thought that deeply about that particular sculpture.
well, that's why we have art talks, because you didn't know you needed to think about it, and now you're thinking about it.
I saw that sculpture every single day when I was at Stanford.
Yes, you did. I love that. I love that spot.
All right, that's it. Let's stop our recording. Thank you, everyone.
Solid.
Thank you for still being here. I'm glad you're alive.